Gladiator 2 follows the story of Lucius, the son of Maximus, as he embarks on a journey to restore Rome's honor. After Rome takes everything from him, filled with rage and seeking vengeance, Lucius must look to the past to find the strength and honor needed to free Rome from tyranny during its darkest days. Meet the emperor who stands in his way and represents everything Lucius must defeat, Caracalla, an emperor so consumed by ambition, paranoia, and cruelty, he was willing to murder his own brother and massacre thousands. Amidst the bloodshed and chaos, his reign would reshape Rome in ways that are still felt to this very day. This is the story of Caracalla, one of Rome's most cruel and bloodthirsty emperors. History's most infamous figures, Part 4. Lucius Septimius Bassianus was born on April 4th, 188, in the Roman city of Lugdunum, modern Lyon, France, during the reign of Emperor Commodus. His father, Septimius Severus, hailed from Leptis Magna, modern-day Libya, and was of Punic or North African origin. A seasoned senator and military commander, Severus was the provincial governor of Gallia Lugdunensis at the time of Bassianus's birth. His mother, Julia Domna, came from a prestigious Syrian Arab family of priests, dedicated to the deity Elagabalus. Renowned for her intelligence, education, and political acumen, she complemented Severus's drive for power, forming a partnership that laid the foundation of a dynasty destined to shape the empire's future. In 189, during a brief stay in Rome, Bassianus's younger brother, Publius Septimius Geta, was born. Caracalla's relationship with his sibling was fraught from the beginning, but while their early years were relatively peaceful, their families and Rome's fortunes were about to change. On New Year's Eve of 192, the assassination of Emperor Commodus triggered a succession crisis known as the Year of the Five Emperors. Over the next year, the empire was plunged into civil war, with rival claimants vying for power. In 193, Severus emerged victorious, defeating his enemies, seizing the imperial throne, and founding the Severan dynasty, a turning point that would forever change the lives of his family and the fate of Rome. To solidify his legitimacy, Severus posthumously adopted himself into the lineage of the revered Marcus Aurelius. As part of this symbolic move, Bassianus was renamed Marcus Aurelius Antoninus, linking him directly to the Antonine emperors and cementing his role as the heir to the throne. As the eldest son of the emperor, Antoninus's life was one of immense privilege, but also relentless expectation. Known for his fiery temper and penchant for violence, Antoninus's volatile personality made him both a challenge and a focus of his father's grooming. Nevertheless, at the age of 7, Antoninus was granted the title of Caesar, or junior emperor, and was declared Imperator Destinatus, destined to be emperor. In 197, at the age of 8, Antoninus accompanied his father on a military campaign against the Parthian Empire. Witnessing the brutal realities of war, he immersed himself in military life, adopting the mannerisms of soldiers. He became particularly fond of the caracallus, a long hooded Gallic cloak worn by troops. He wore it so frequently that it earned him the nickname Caracalla, though he was never called this during his lifetime. History, however, would remember him not as Antoninus, but as the infamous Caracalla. Following the victorious Parthian campaign, Septimius Severus celebrated a triumph in Rome in 198. During this grand event, 9-year-old Caracalla was elevated to Augustus, officially making him co-emperor with his father, while his younger brother Geta was elevated to Caesar. This pivotal moment solidified the Severan dynasty's rule, but also planted the seeds of the bitter rivalry between the brothers, a rivalry that would nearly tear the empire apart. In 202, at the age of 14, Caracalla married Fulvia Plautilla, the daughter of Gaius Fulvius Plautianus, the Praetorian prefect, the head of the emperor's bodyguards. The marriage, arranged by Severus, was intended to secure Plautianus's loyalty to the Severan dynasty. However, Caracalla despised both his wife and her father. He openly insulted and humiliated Plautilla, referring to her as a plague and threatening to kill her father once he became sole emperor. In 205, Caracalla accused Plautianus of treason and had him executed. Fulvia Plautilla was banished to the island of Lipari, where Caracalla eventually ordered her execution. This marked only the beginning of his infamous cruelty. In 209, Geta was elevated to the rank of Augustus, making him co-emperor alongside Severus and Caracalla. Severus intended this move to solidify the family's control over the empire, but it had the opposite effect. Caracalla, the elder son, resented the arrangement, viewing Geta as weak and unworthy of power. The brothers' contrasting personalities only fueled their rivalry. While Geta was quiet, calculating, and politically astute, Caracalla was bold, brash, and impatient, believing himself the sole rightful heir. Their animosity deepened as they competed to outshine each other and win their father's favor, a feud that would soon consume the empire. In early 211, while campaigning in Britannia, Septimius Severus fell gravely ill. On his deathbed in the city of Eboracum, modern York, he reportedly gave his sons his final advice: "Be harmonious, enrich the soldiers, and scorn all other men." When Severus died, Caracalla and Geta inherited joint rule of the empire, but their rivalry soon exploded into open hostility. During their journey back to Rome with their father's ashes, Caracalla and Geta's relationship deteriorated further. The brothers continuously argued with one another. By the time they returned, they divided the imperial palace into two separate courts, refusing to speak directly to one another. Each surrounded themselves with loyal advisors, and their respective factions split the Senate and military. Caracalla was popular with the army, and Geta was popular in the Senate. This situation got so bad that they nearly divided the empire in half along the Bosphorus, with Caracalla ruling in the west and Geta ruling in the east, but their mother, Julia Domna, convinced them not to. The imperial palace became a battleground as each brother tried to outmaneuver the other, poisoning the atmosphere of governance and destabilizing the empire. In December 211, Caracalla lured Geta to a meeting under the guise of reconciliation. The meeting took place in their mother's private quarters. However, Caracalla had no intention of making amends. As Geta entered the room, he was ambushed and killed in his mother's arms. Forced to witness her son's brutal murder, Julia was left traumatized by the betrayal. It's said Caracalla even refused her to shed tears and mourn him. Killing Geta wasn't enough for Caracalla. He wanted his very existence to be forgotten. Following the assassination, Caracalla issued a Damnatio Memoriae, damnation of memory. Geta's image was removed from all paintings. Coins were melted down. Statues were destroyed. His name was struck from the records, and even speaking or writing Geta's name became a capital offense. Determined to eliminate any lingering loyalty to Geta, Caracalla began a massive purge. Senators, soldiers, and ordinary citizens suspected of sympathizing with Geta were arrested and executed. The purges extended beyond Rome, as the emperor sought to extinguish any memory of his brother's influence. When the dust settled, an estimated 20,000 people were massacred. Caracalla's cruelty knew no bounds, and with his rule secured, Rome would tremble under his reign. In 211, Caracalla began building his grand construction project, the Baths of Caracalla. Completed in 216, they were one of the largest and most impressive public works in Rome. Covering almost 62 acres, the baths featured vast bathing pools, gymnasiums, libraries, gardens, and even an underground system of tunnels to service the complex. The baths were a marvel of Roman engineering and served as a gift to the people, a rare moment of generosity from an otherwise tyrannical ruler. However, their construction came at a significant financial cost, further straining the empire's resources. To fund the baths, along with military costs and troop pay raises, Caracalla resorted to debasing the denarius, Rome's silver coinage. This short-term solution provided the funds Caracalla needed to sustain his ambitions. The economic consequences were disastrous as inflation soared. In 212, Caracalla issued the Constitutio Antoniniana, an edict that granted Roman citizenship to all free men across the empire. Until then, citizenship had been a coveted privilege reserved for select individuals and communities. With this bold move, Caracalla shattered centuries of exclusivity, reshaping the empire's legal and social structure. The impact was so profound that many newly minted citizens adopted Aurelius as their surname, honoring the emperor who seemingly granted them this gift. Yet, what seemed like a noble reform was really a shrewd financial strategy. By expanding citizenship statesmanship, Caracalla dramatically increased the taxable population, funneling critical funds into the imperial treasury. This revenue was essential for financing his lavish projects and the generous pay raises he had promised his soldiers to ensure their loyalty. The edict also broadened the pool of men eligible to serve in the legions, further solidifying Caracalla's control over the military. Though celebrated as a unifying gesture, the Constitutio Antoniniana was ultimately a calculated act of self-interest. In 213, Caracalla marched north to confront the Alamanni, a Germanic barbarian tribe that had overrun the northern border. Little did Caracalla know that he would never return to the Eternal City. By 214, Caracalla had successfully pacified the Alamanni through a negotiated peace. His campaign against the Alamanni revealed more bravado than brilliance, but in his mind he was a military genius like his hero, Alexander the Great. Following the campaign, his admiration for Alexander the Great became an obsession. He mimicked his habits and even wanted to create a Roman phalanx, modeled after the famous Macedonian style of warfare, even though this style of warfare was proven obsolete nearly 400 years prior when the Romans conquered Macedon. But it didn't stop there. He wanted to defeat the Parthians and conquer Persia, just like Alexander. But before he could do that, he would need to visit Alexander's namesake city. Caracalla made his way across the eastern provinces through Anatolia. By December 215, he had reached Alexandria, the jewel of the Nile. But by the time he left, the Nile would run red. When the people of Alexandria heard about his arrival, they mocked him for his murder of Geta, producing satirical plays and writings that ridiculed the emperor. Enraged, Caracalla ordered all the young men of the city to assemble under the pretext of organizing a phalanx in Alexander's honor. As the youths stood in formation, their families watched as Caracalla praised them. While his soldiers surrounded the crowd, he declared they were trapped in the net of steel and left as the soldiers slaughtered the boys and their families. The carnage was so great the streets and the mouth of the Nile were stained red. In 216, Caracalla launched a campaign against the Parthian Empire. He initially offered a marriage alliance between himself and the daughter of the Parthian king Artabanus IV, but this was rejected. Caracalla used this as a pretext for war. Although he was initially successful in raiding the countryside, he retired to Edessa for the winter to plan the spring campaign. On April 8, 217, near Carrhae in Mesopotamia, Caracalla stopped to relieve himself by the roadside when Julius Martialis, a disgruntled soldier, approached him and stabbed him to death. It is said Caracalla's Praetorian prefect, Macrinus, orchestrated the plot as Martialis was swiftly executed and Macrinus declared himself emperor. Caracalla's death marked the end of one of Rome's most infamous reigns. Caracalla's reign was a paradox, a tyrant who left behind monumental achievements but whose name became synonymous with cruelty and paranoia, murdering everyone and anyone in his way, leaving a trail of blood and chaos in his wake. If Lucius's story in Gladiator 2 represents the dream that is Rome, Caracalla's story reminds us of when the dream becomes a nightmare. As always, don't forget to like and hit that subscribe button. Your support helps this channel grow, allowing us to bring you even more incredible stories. If you enjoyed this video, we release new episodes weekly, so click the bell icon so you never miss a future video. This is UnRecalled History. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.